Was it on the podcast where you threw out the question, or was it on the mailbag of the quarterbacks? You know, beside Rodgers and Brady, where's the next group of guys you would trust in a playoff game? It was Dak, Kyler, and Stafford.
We're glad you're watching our video. Take a moment to like. We're glad you're watching our video. We'd really love if you took a moment to like it and subscribe to this channel.
Yep, because you know that 50% of you watching right now are not subscribed. Make sure you do that, and check out the podcast below in the description.
Thanks to our sponsor, Tito's Handmade Vodka.
#1 vodka in America.
But somebody asked us that question on the stream, yeah.
Well, I said obviously Brady Rodgers.
Yep.
And you could argue Rodgers Brady, whatever. I mean, it's just that's a weird debate. Even though Brady's career is better. But
I would take
that next group, I probably would too. I would take Dak clearly over the other two guys. I don't trust Stafford in these big games. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about, Kyle, like to get your confidence. The one thing Kyle can get his confidence back. Like he's like Rory McIlroy. Rory, I don't know if you saw, he played that last, the Ryder Cup. He led off for the Europeans and he lost and he cried. Or no, he won. He kicked ass and he cried after. And he said, I fucked the team. 2 weeks later, he won that tournament in Vegas and was like, you know what? I just needed to get my swag back. And I just told myself, I'm Rory McIlroy. Just go out there and play. And he starts kicking everyone's ass. I think Rory could have a huge season. He just kind of like, Rory, just play golf. And I think sometimes with football, like ultimately Brady and Rodgers, think how many reps they have in big games. I mean, Brady has probably the most reps in big games in the history of the sport. Rodgers has, a decade plus of playing in, what would you say, on average, 5 enormous games a year and then multiple playoff games.
Yeah, you're talking 5 enormous regular season games.
Yeah, I'm talking, like one in October, a couple in November, probably a big boy in December with Al, or on Monday night with playoff implications or Nance calling. How many do you think, honestly, Stafford has? He's played in 3 playoff games, so those 3 games. But how many games during that year, even with the Lions being pretty good, were even that big? I mean, I know they were big to him, but
I'd say
relative to the league.
I could be wrong. Maybe it's too low. I'm going to say that he's played in like 9 huge regular season games.
Don't you think Rodgers and Brady played in combined probably 12 big games last year? Right? I mean, it's just last year was weird, but like in 19 or whatever, like in a game where there's fans and stuff.
Right.
I don't think you can discount the immense pressure on a guy who is now, it's all about football, right? He's already made all the money. Like it's about just like, do I have a legacy of people going to look at me as like, it's all he's playing for now. He's already made 200. He's one of the richest quarterbacks ever. I mean, it's just, can I prove myself? And honestly, watching him, you kind of feel the weight of it on him a little bit. Like it's like, feels like he's forcing it. I don't know. Like I've watched him enough playing against Minnesota in a meaningless game in 17 where it's just like, this guy's sweet. That doesn't matter though.
Yeah. There's a lot going on for them right now. Like they bring him in as the missing piece, right? Like to plug him in, but then he's not really the only missing piece because then they go with Von Miller and that's high profile. That's different than trading for a guy who no one knows who he is. And then they get Odell and that's high profile. And then Robert Woods gets hurt. Cam Akers gets hurt. That's a big deal. And I think so much was made of McVay too, right? McVay clearly is a guy that puts pressure on his quarterbacks, which is fine. I think a lot of, great coaches put pressure on the quarterbacks. They need good quarterbacks to step up. But specifically for the Rams, it has felt like Goff became, and maybe rightfully, but Goff became the scapegoat for them that we would be better, and we've been pretty good, but we'd be better if we had a different quarterback. He was healthy and he was the backup to a guy who can't throw. So
who? Walford?
The playoff game last year. Walford, yeah. I shouldn't say he can't throw. But to me, the message is we got to get Goff out of here and upgrade, and that's that. And then not only did they get him, but like there was a bidding, like Kyle wanted him. Like multiple teams in the division wanted him. And so I think if you're Stafford, you come into that game like this is the game I'm here for, is to beat that guy. That guy wanted me. My guy got him. I can't lose to the guy that wanted me when my guy got me. I signed with McVay. Like he chose where to go.
Would you say,
agent, but he chose, right? He chose.
Would you say it's probably fair that at minimum 5 teams were willing at minimum to part with first round picks a pick and then, a 1 and then maybe like a 3 to get him. I don't know if teams were going to go 2 1s, but I would say at minimum 5 teams would have given their first rounder. Carolina, I mean, I bet Philly would have thought about it to get Matt Stafford. Like, he was a highly valued player viewed in the prism of this really talented guy that hadn't proven much, that was viewed as a draft prospect, kind of like what we can turn him into at 32, 33 years old. Like, how many guys in the history of the sport, let alone sports? I guess Kevin Garnett a little bit, but Kevin Garnett was so good. Like, it was so, I mean, he won an MVP with the Timberwolves. Like, Matt Stafford, actually, I think there was one season when he was like in the MVP mix a couple years ago, but he's still probably one of the great, I don't even know what the right, anomaly is probably not even the right word. Like, that people had. And I think we're kind of finding out people that push back, that said, I think you guys are overvaluing him, feel pretty good about their lot.
I liked him a lot.
I liked him too.
Even before he was a Ram. People who watched him a lot said, you guys...
Kyle loved him, right? McVay loved him.
Yeah, but I even think the people who would push back on us liking him a lot wouldn't say he's not really talented or that he can't do great things. They would just say, have you really watched him? Like, is he really a winner? And it was always easy to say, yeah, but the Lions aren't winners. And so that can infect you, right? Which is true. I think we're having a legitimate conversation. I thought Odell Beckham's appearance in that game affected the Rams because they clearly made it a concerted effort to get him the ball early just to make him happy, which is
first completion of the game. But then the interception was also to him. And did Stafford throw that ball because he's like, I got Odell, let's see what we got here. Boom, let's go. And the problem was him and Odell weren't on the same page. The reason it was basically a fair catch is because Odell hung a left and he threw it deep right. And so that was that. And I mean, that's partly just, I think there's time for them. They need time. And it's hard when like you're under the spotlight and you're playing in all these pressurized games. But I think, and you've always said this, football's not a plug and play sport. And I think with veteran quarterbacks, we just assume you're going to a better team. You're just going to go from there to here, and it's just going to get better. I still am open-minded to he needs time. But, 15 weeks of the season, he might need a playoff experience. Yeah. Like, it may not be like go play a playoff game, and you've had all this time with Odell now, and now you're ready to roll. He might need a playoff experience, and then that carries over into the next year. And when you're a Super Bowl or bust team, that can create pressure too. Yeah, I mean, I heard, I was in the car this morning, and Coward, he kind of pushed back against everyone shitting on Stafford. And he said, if you look last year, 2 guys moved teams. Stafford's number were better than Tom Brady's last year going into the bye. They both went in the bye at the same time. Tom came back. They never lost again. They won the Super Bowl. I'm like, well, yeah, stats are on your side on that one. But Tom had, 20 years of experience kicking ass and taking names, going to 9 Super Bowls. Like, his playoff reps were historically high. No one will probably, even Mahomes, when it's all said and done, might never get the playoff reps Tom Brady had at the time that he was playing for the Bucs. Matt does not have that. He'll just figure it out because that's what he does. He's never had to because he never played on really consistently winning teams. And I think they are just kind of in this rough spot where they're depending on him, like LaFleur has depended on Rodgers and I would say meshed the Shanahan offense to let him kind of spread it out. Well, Aaron Rodgers is infinitely better than Matt, / has way more reps and is more comfortable doing things in big games. I just think you've seen the last 2 weeks, Sunday night and Monday Night Football, where it's just big. Sunday night against the Titans, whose record was legitimately good and were the hottest team in the league. Like, that game was big. He was terrible. And he admitted after the game, I lost us the game. I gave him 14 points. He did, and lost him the game. Peyton last night said, when Phil asked him about Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, and he said, Peyton always like, yeah, I talked to Kyle Shanahan, I talked to Odell Beckham, I talked to Sean McVay. He talks to everybody. It's like he gets more access, it feels like, than the crew. And he said this thing Sean felt the best about last week is the way Matt Stafford handled the loss, like how he was in the building. And I'd say, Matt or Sean, no one has ever questioned, like, no one talks about this guy like he's Odell Beckham Jr. or something. Like, Matt Stafford's character is like, It's more about the player.
Hey, we've had our last 9 locks of the week in a row, and we've been hitting it at mybookie.ag, promo code HAM and the number 1.
Hey, are you a small business owner? Are you looking to hire? Go to Indeed.com/ham, $75 off your first job post. Just the true in a vacuum on the field when the game's going. I think that's the question with Matt. Not his talent, not his character, not his intelligence. I remember when he was coming out, he like graduated in 3 years. Remember, he was like super young when he got drafted, like 20 years old.
Yeah.
He's like a 4.0 student. Like, he checks every box. Except when you watch him sometimes, you're like, what is going on? That, to me, is the only box he doesn't check, which you could argue you can get away with, some leadership shit. They've been doing it with Rodgers forever. But his play, like, if his play is the one box that you're just like, do we truly trust this guy when it's big? Isn't that the most concerning thing?
Yeah, because I think with the difference between him and Tom is that Tom's question was more about, like, does he still have it? Like, his talent. Because, like, just get him.
Yeah.
That's not the question with Stafford. It's different. Like, I don't need Tom Brady to prove anything to me statistically. It's more with him. Like, let's just watch him and see. Is he still kind of, okay, he knows what he's doing. We'll check back in 10 weeks.
This guy's accomplished more because he's played on better teams. But, like, if you just ask NBA players about, like, Russell Westbrook, they clearly respect him a lot, right? I think people hold him in pretty high regard. Maybe not now as much as they did, but even, like, the last 5 years. It was like he was viewed in NBA circles as really high. I think Matt Stafford, if you just talk to, like, if you and I just had to run into Eli Manning like 5 years ago, or just some random DB or what, you just ask people around the league, people thought really highly of Matt Stafford. Right? He's really good. He was well liked. And I think the coaching community in Sando's article always spoke really highly about him. But maybe it's just one of those things where it's just like everyone wanted to like him so much because he's such a nice, likable guy and so much talent that he might just be missing a little something. I don't know. I don't even know how you quantify it, but.
Well, I would quantify it like this. It's hard to quantify, but I would say it like this. I think probably some of the way that Sando got reaction, some of the reason Sando got the positive reaction was, I would imagine a lot of people around the league looked at him and viewed him through the lens of what could we do if we had him, or what could I do if he was my quarterback. And I think the hard part is, it's impossible to measure nature versus nurture. And Tom, it turns out, had something in his nature, but the nurture of I think for any quarterback, one of the most important things is when you play early, do you play on a team that allows you to not be perfect? Like, do you play for a team that has players around you that you can lean on, a defense that you can lean on, a coaching staff that understands how to use a rookie quarterback, that what they view you could be one day isn't what you have to be today? Like, I was tweeting going back and forth with some people on Twitter on Monday. Like, I think if we went and found the top five quarterbacks in the league, by and large, you don't necessarily even know in that player's rookie year that you have a top 5 quarterback. You hope that the guy you have could be a top 5 quarterback. But, Josh Allen, let's say Josh and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, like, we didn't know these were top 5 quarterbacks their rookie year. It even takes a few years as a pro for us to realize, okay, this guy developed, this guy didn't. Here's a top 5 quarterback. Now we know. And you wonder, is there a growth period in a player's career that can be wasted? And did playing for the Lions stunt his growth? Did not having those reps early in his career stunt his growth in a way that being on a good team helped Russell Wilson and helped Tom Brady and they helped these guys blossom in a way that, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I wonder. That's what I wonder with him. Did he have it once? Can he still get it? Is it too late to develop those skills? I think Tom, it turned out like Tom's been great in 2-minute drills. Well, this is why I said I would take Tom. Actually, I shouldn't even make it about Tom and Aaron. Tom Brady, forget about how many playoff games he's played. How many times has Tom Brady walked onto the field down a score with 2.5 minutes left? I mean, I bet he's done that more than
any player alive. Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably done that more than half the players who have ever played in the NFL have completions. Like, I bet he has done that more than most people have done a basic thing.
Yeah.
That it's second nature to him. And that's important. That's really important. And now, again, I think part of it, so all of that leads me to this. I don't think it can just be Stafford carrying this team.
Well, can't.
he can do great things, but they have to help him in the way that you help. I'm not calling him a rookie quarterback or a underdeveloped quarterback, but in some ways they can't look at him. Maybe we were wrong to look at him like the missing piece. He is an upgrade at a position that they needed to upgrade, but he's not the missing piece.
Well, he might become the missing piece, but it's probably more likely to happen in like 23, 24 when he's really comfortable and he got to have a couple years of situations. The problem, though, like you said, is that's not really what they're thinking right now, right? They're not just like, oh, just maybe get a playoff game or two under your belt and we get knocked out in the second round. We'll just come back and
right. Which is
ride
if
again
you were
next year.
Second year, third year player, that's what you'd be saying.
It's why when you put all your chips in the middle of the table, the Bucs did it, but they got Tom Brady. So they knew, like, hey, listen, if you're going to beat us, like, let's say Tom, and it could happen this year, they lose in like the 3-6 game. They just lose. It won't be because, like, Tom wasn't ready for the moment or it was too much. Or maybe just got fucking beat. The conversation with Stafford could be, if he goes out with a couple picks in a playoff game, it's going to be a long off season for the Stafford talk, right?
Yeah, and then it becomes, have you had enough success? Do you have enough confidence to handle that? Does McVay turn on? We have not had a lot of McVay quarterback experience. How does McVay
turned on
handle?
one?
Yeah, exactly.
He turned on one.
Right?
And they were winning, right?
A lot of this, and you made the point earlier about we disagreed on some stuff with Kyle, but you're right. Like when it becomes kind of a self-perpetuating thing. When you lose, things that no one thought about before come up. And it can create a pressure. Now, again, I still think they're in pretty good shape, but I do wonder if I overvalued them based on Stafford. But maybe they can figure it out.
I think like these next couple 2 or 3 games for Matt will be very telling, right? He's just kind of gotten embarrassed 2 weeks in a row by a division rival, which, it's his first year in the division, but clearly means a lot to. I bet they took that week pretty seriously. I don't think Sean McVay thought they were going to come in, even if they lost, to get ransacked after they just got their ass kicked on Sunday Night Football. Like, does he bounce back these next couple weeks and play better?